Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. We learned a whole bunch of stuff about what's happening with episode 1, Comic-Con footage, as well as a new character that they're casting, so let's break it down. There's a new round of the Flash Ring giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, leave a comment on this video. So if you didn't see, there was all this Comic-Con news that dropped yesterday for all of DC TV, but buried in all the descriptions of new footage they're going to be dropping, they talk about the Flash episode 1. So right off the bat, I'll say the Flash's Comic-Con panel is happening Saturday at 5:10 p.m. So it's happening on Saturday night instead of Friday night. So that's the first big thing to remember, is that all the DC TV trailers, all that stuff is going to be happening on Saturday instead of Friday. It's usually been on Friday nights in past years. But here's the description of the Flash episode 1. So they say, running up against an evil time remnant of yourself is something no one should ever have to do. But that's exactly what faced Barry Allen, aka The Flash, as he fought to save the life of his fiancée, Iris West, from the god of speed known as Savitar. Barry's victory was short-lived, however, as an unbalanced Speed Force began to wreak havoc on Central City, forcing Barry to sacrifice himself for the greater good. With the fastest man alive now trapped inside an extra-dimensional energy and unknown dangers lurking in the shadows, it will be up to Team Flash to free Barry from his own personal hell. Join cast members Grant Gustin, Jesse Martin, Tom Cavanaugh, Candice Patton, Danielle Panabaker, Carlos Valdez, and Kenyon Lyonsdale, and the producers of the CW's highest-rated series at their annual Comic-Con panel. And then pretty much all the shows are just like, okay, special video presentation, we're going to be dropping footage. So everybody go crazy. We'll talk about that in a second. But they also revealed that there's a new character they're casting right now that's going to be relatively CG. They basically say that it's going to give the special effects people a lot of headaches because it's going to look really cool. And Savitar was largely CG. It was like a person walking around in a practical suit that looked like this, but they had to add a lot of CG. They did the same thing for Zoom, so it's not that much different from previous seasons. You want to have a villain that looks really cool on screen, but that also works without CG, so I think they're trying to fine-tune that this season. But let's talk about that synopsis first. Rescuing Barry from his own personal hell. So there are a couple things about this description that make you wonder what's going on, because it does make it sound like everybody else is going to try and pull Barry out of the Speed Force rather than him coming out by himself, which is kind of exciting when you think about it. It'd be like a Speed Force prison break. But the big question is, at the end of last season, Barry's mother, the Speed Force wormhole alien that looked like his mother, said that it wouldn't be a personal hell like it was before. So there are a couple things that are misleading in this description, but I do like the idea that Team Flash rescues Barry in that first episode. So it'd be a version of Rebirth where they pull him out of the Speed Force. You get to have that moment with Wally, with Iris, but there's just a big question about what that would do to the Speed Force, because they say it's unbalanced. Barry went in to balance it, so what happens when he leaves? Does that mean it goes back to being unbalanced? Probably not. It'll probably be relatively fine, but they say the dangers lurking in the shadows. They're talking about the new villains. They're talking about the other rogues that are going to resurface in the absence of Barry Allen, because just like when Batman isn't in Gotham and everybody knows that he's not in Gotham, crime usually rises about 200%. Even though there's still a Flash in Central City, everybody knows that it's not the Barry Allen Flash that they're afraid of. So it presents this perfect opportunity for Wally to cut his teeth trying to learn to be a better Flash, as well as the rogues trying to push their luck. Like, oh, it's the junior version of the Flash. We can totally get away with all these heists that we didn't think we could pull before. The real danger lurking in the shadow in the CG character that they're casting right now sounds like it could be the Thinker, but I wouldn't be surprised if they start the season with different villains and then they get to the Thinker later. I do like the idea that they tried to start with a different version of an evil Flash last season, but he only lasted for a couple episodes and he kind of came off like the joke. The Rival actually could have been a pretty cool villain if they'd have let him kill or take down a couple people before Wally West tried to trap him. So just don't be surprised if they start the season with a new villain that they take down in the first couple of episodes, and then that paves the way for bigger villains to surface. Because I think it's okay if they hold back the big bad till later in the season, as long as you feel his presence, you feel him pulling the strings, but you don't want to hold him back too much the way they held back Savitar, because then you're hanging everything on the idea that your reveal is going to be the biggest payoff ever, and sometimes that doesn't work out. It's really easy to pay off Reverse Flash. Season 1 was a slam dunk. Season 2 with Zoom was pretty cool too, but I don't think that Savitar Future Flash landed quite as well as they hoped they would. So even though there'll always be big twists, big reveals like, oh my god, I never thought it was this person, they'll probably try to introduce the villain in a slightly different way. So let me know in the comments, how do you want them to deal with villains this season? Do you want to meet the big bad in the first couple of episodes and just have him be around for the entire season? Or would you rather see a bunch of different villains and then see the big bad surface? The CG character that they're casting could be the Thinker, but there's still a bunch of minor Flash rogues that they haven't done before. They always tend to pick people's names and mix and match things, so they could always take a relatively minor villain from the comics and turn them into something much bigger. But because they said they're not doing a lot of evil speedsters like they did at the beginning of last season, I'm just guessing it's gonna be somebody from the Rogues Gallery. Like there's a character called the Changeling, and it's not Beast Boy, it's like a different villain that changes himself. They could be doing something like that. I feel like they're going to use this season of DC TV to test out what they can do with the Titans TV show, because Greg Berlanti is producing all the DC TV stuff, but they're also doing Titans, and they don't have any footage for that TV show yet, just because they're getting ready to shoot the pilot in September. Comic-Con is at the end of July in a couple weeks, so obviously there's nothing to show. So what they might do is they might answer a couple questions while Comic-Con is happening, but I don't expect them to talk too much about it during the other DC TV panels. But I can already see all the comments piling on, why is Tom Felton not on the cast list of people coming to Comic-Con? It's totally possible when season 4 picks up, he's not around, he's moved on, and then just comes back to guest star every once in a while. Because really big guest stars tend to only stay on for one season, but like Eddie came back a couple times during season 2, he came back during season 3, and they killed him off. And we know that Julian is still in love with Caitlin, so whatever they do with the character, they'll explain it in episode 1 in a really simple way. They tend to move the plot forward quite a bit and then flash back to all the stuff that's happened in the past 3 months since the last season finished. Like, oh, this is what we've been doing since Barry went into the Speed Force. So the only thing that would make me really mad is if Caitlin is already back on Team Flash, everybody's happy, and there aren't any really big problems outside of the new rogues that have surfaced while Barry's been gone. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about the idea of this Speed Force prison break that they're talking about in the synopsis, Tom Felton not being on the cast list, and the CG character that they're casting right now? But if you guys want, I will do Comic-Con videos like this for the other TV shows. There's a Young Justice panel that's happening on a different day. So what'll happen during Comic-Con is obviously there's all the trailer videos that I'll do for the new footage they drop. Most of that'll be on Saturday, but there'll also be a bunch of casting announcements. There'll be stuff happening through the week. So what'll happen is the week before Comic-Con, I'll do more preview videos for what's going to be happening, but I'll remind everyone to turn video alerts on so you don't miss any of the videos, because I'll be posting stuff all day long throughout Comic-Con, and it's like a 4-day marathon. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but there's also a lot of Marvel TV stuff that they drop for Comic-Con. So just let me know in the comments what kind of Comic-Con stuff you guys want me to do right now, because it's still a couple weeks away. There'll also be some extra special giveaways happening that week, just like I do every year. Congratulations to the latest winner, Darkhound1382. Please private message me so I can get your contact details. And while you wait for everything to post, you can click here for the Rick and Morty official Season 3 trailer. We finally got a premiere date on that, so I talk about that during that video. And you can click here for my non-spoilery Spider-Man Homecoming review. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.